Okay, so now what I'm going to do is talk about what I'm not doing properly, both within the package source framework, within the framework of Haikuos, and within the framework of Haiku Porter. And then I'll discuss why, as I go, why I'm not doing certain things. It's either a lack of skills on my part, a lack of certainty on my part, or the fact that I'm just exploring and giving people a reference point to look at what I've done to accomplish a compilation. And so people with more experience can look and say, okay, well, this guy was able to compile doing this stuff. We're doing this stuff. Do we need to do this other stuff? Oh, well, they might say to themselves, yes, we do, because he's going to find out that his is broken in this way, this way, this way, and this way, and this is why we're doing this stuff. Or they might look at it and say, okay, well, wow, okay, that'll work. That's the big picture general kind of reasons why I'm here, is to explore, to see what I can do, to try to break new ground, as messy it's going to be as it is. Whacking, as I'm just forging ahead and whacking through the brush, and I'm leaving a trail behind me. Okay. Eventually, I want to get to the point where I'm able to whack the brush quickly and clean up the trail as I go. The good news is that the trail is on my own desk. It's not on anyone's desk in particular, but there's certain things that I'm not doing either because I don't know how to do it. Yeah, just basically because I don't know how to do it, or I'm just not as comfortable working with the tool sets that are available. Doesn't mean that I think they're bad or incorrect or unnecessary. So another part of me not wanting to give anybody the wrong impression about what their role would be in the eventually, ultimately, what they shoot for. What I've done so far is not it, at least in the haiku community. In the haiku community, they have a tool set that's similar called Haiku Porter that I just don't know how to work with as well. I don't know how to read the output and go from the output and attempt to troubleshoot the errors that come up and resolve them. But as you can see, I mean, I've tried with Python, I've tried with SSL, it didn't work over here, so I had to cheat, literally. But ultimately, I'm still trying to forge ground. I'm trying not to get bogged down on learning how to patch or learning how to get the information I need out of Haiku Porter to go to the next thing. I'm just trying to forge ahead because I know how to use package source. In both cases of Haiku Porter and package source, I'm not creating patches. And we talk about, in theory, what's supposed to happen. So, if you didn't see my first video that I'll call part 1, and the only reason why you'd want to look at that is because I explained what source code is, but I'm just going to continue from where I left off on that other one. So what I'm supposed to be doing is, and I'll even touch about the fact I'm supposed to be using Haiku Porter, but outside of that, in both the Haiku Porter and the package source community, what I'm supposed to do is note any failures that come up, as I am doing, make the changes to the file as I am as I am doing, but I'm also supposed to run a program called diffs and compare the original files as they were with my changed files, create a file called a diff, and submit that to haikuports.org in what's called a patch, or to package source. I haven't even looked into how that process works yet. And at this stage, I'm So I'm more or less, I'm here to get answers, kind of. I'm not really here to. I'm far. Put it this way: I'm far less capable of creating patches than I am figuring out how to get something to work. I'm pretty creative. I'll come up with some pretty ugly hacks sometimes, but ultimately, I don't want to produce ugly hacks and have patches that are based on ugly hacks. Um, but in some cases, do have some answers perhaps that haven't been explored yet. And in some cases, I'm able to show that you don't need to patch certain programs at all, um, at least under this framework. And from that, and by extension, and me having no knowledge as to whether I would have the same no patch result with Haiku Porter, which is Haikuos' official methodology of porting programs, or framework for porting programs, I don't know whether I would be able to resolve things the way I am in package source. So there's certain advantages and disadvantages of using it, but eventually I want to get to the point where I actually am able to use Haiku Porter to do what I'm doing and to submit patches, and so other people could benefit from my work in a more immediate way than having to watch a video and having to do the same edits that I've done to move on to the next thing. So I'm learning. So, I'm not a coder, so eventually things might start to gel, and then when I reach the day that I look at the code and I know that everything's all right based on what I've done, and understand how the changes that I've made fit in, I'll be more comfortable to submit patches. Right now, I'm trying to blaze a trail, and if it's helpful, it's helpful. If it's not, it's not. I'm kind of like NASA. That's what I'm trying to be. It's a very big job what they're doing over at Haiku to gather, and this is the way it works, as far as I understand. Haiku Porter works a lot like package source. What package source is is a collection of scripts and utilities and a framework that could also be configured basically to download, compile, install, and package programs from the internet, from source code. Haiku Porter, in theory, does the same thing. Package source also allows for patches to be included in this overall larger body of things and to be applied to your operating system if it's somehow, I don't even know how it's identified, how patches are identified to one system or the other, but there is some mechanism to do that. So, a patch that I submit for Haiku is not going to apply to Linux or something, or NetBSD. Haiku Porter doesn't have that level of complexity. It's just the patches are all for Haiku. So in theory, once you've figured out how to get this thing to work, there are two things to submit to Haiku Porter. One is a patch set, and the other is a recipe. What commands did you type in the command line? Patch set is what changes were made to the code. So in theory, if you go into Haiku Porter and you type Haiku Porter, name a package, it should compile and work. Something else I also recently learned is that Haiku Porter works a lot better if you use the no dependency option. Most everything will actually compile without a problem if you say no dependencies. But if you don't, they won't work, and it may be because the dependencies are already installed in the base system. I don't know. I just haven't looked up looked into it enough. Ultimately, I just want to get to a point where I have my package source thing here, and it's ready to start trying new things that haven't been gotten into. Haikuports has also made their own scripts and patches for a lot of packages that are out there, just like Package Source has. So I'm not testing those things at this stage. When it comes to Package Source, I'm learning as I'm going. So there was one user that was very helpful, very kind to get me started. Goes by asthma. Goes by the nickname or the IRC name or the form name Diger. And one thing I just haven't learned how to do is use local patches. What I am doing is right now I'm making edits to the make.conf file as they're needed. So if I note that a change to the edit make.conf file actually results in a successful compilation versus an unsuccessful compilation, I'll keep that change inside my make.conf file. Now, I'm just editing the make.conf file, but really, I think the technical correct, or the way they want you to do it, is to have your own haiku.make.conf or something file that is fed in like a header into this main thing. I'm just making the changes on the make.conf file. So far, I haven't found too many. And I have a set of sample Haikuos make.conf files. They're like, I think it's last time I checked, it was at version 13 or something like that. There's one person that has gone. His name is Akiko Obashi. I'm gonna look that up. I'm not gonna. He's done quite a thing, and I don't know, and I really don't know at this stage. I don't know. It could be that Haikuports is package source kind of reworked. But let's go. I'm gonna look at this guy up. Haiku package source. I'm gonna look this guy's name up. So I don't want to. I don't want to mispronounce his name. So excuse the pause here. I think his name is Akiko Obata. Yeah, his name is Akiko Obata, and he has he's done a very kind service to Haikuos by porting package source over to it. And now I think about it, I think Haiku Porter is actually based on Arch Linux's Pacman utility, which is based on FreeBSD's port system, which has common roots with package source, which this is why it looks so similar. So he's done a great service to get this thing ported, and he's also now and then will go into Haiku and see what he can do, and if he makes changes to his make.conf file, he has been kind enough to upload updates of that. And in addition, because he'll answer questions on the mailing list, and sometimes I'll find some gems there. And there's certain things that I'm doing that are really, I can't find the documentation for, but I know they work. Like the build link transform function. There may be something like that in Haiku Porter I just don't know about. The reason why I'm using Haiku package source is because I know how to work with it. At least to get to where I need to be. I can get a reasonably quick result on something absolutely new because it'll, say if the port has, and I don't know where to find these ports on Haiku Porter. I just don't know where they are. I'm not as familiar with their locations. So I'm trying to move as quickly as possible and not get bogged down in my purpose. My primary purpose is to see what I can accomplish at my level, what I can't accomplish at my level, to try to blaze a path for someone at my level to get to a point as quickly as possible that they're able to try new things that have not been tried yet with Haiku and Haiku Porter. I view Haiku Porter and HaikuPorts.org as a very good way to solidify solutions and have them available for implementation. Whereas package source and what I'm doing is experimental to my mind. I'm more of an experimental kind of person. I'm not a regimented person. I'm not a patch guy that wants to make note of the exact line and column my change was made on and upload it to here and have half my patches denied. I just want to blaze a trail, and if someone wants to use information, they can. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm not really following the official rules of Haiku, where they just want me to use Haiku Porter. It's just because I know what to do if something goes wrong here and not other place, and maybe the information I have could be used by someone else to help them get the Haiku Porter done better. But I'm venturing off. I'm trying to venture off. I haven't gotten there yet. Trying to venture on my own and see what I could do over here that hopefully no one's tried it yet, and hopefully I can come up with some answers. So then it will get into Haiku Porter. With package source, I'm still not making the patches, and I don't know how to submit them. I don't know how to get them in there. Eventually, I will get there. Eventually, I will do it. Once I get to a point where I know that I can't blaze the trail anymore, I'm going to backtrack and try to. Hopefully, it won't be so far ahead in the future that none of this stuff will apply anymore. And that's another factor. It's not only is it a tedious process with or without a tool set to get the current version of, or close to a current version of the package you're interested in ported, but if you want to go to the next version, there's something else will inevitably change, and then there's just something else to solve. And ultimately, the goal and the hope is to get not only the patches submitted, say, to Haiku Porter, but to actually eliminate the need for the patch in Haiku's world by submitting the patch to the original creator of the software. Hopefully they'll accept the patch, and the next time with the newer version of the program, when the source code is downloaded, there'll be no need to patch on this end. It'll just compile. So, potentially there's two sets of patches to submit at different places, and whether they accept it or not is one thing, and the other thing is, will they remain in sync? But in the meantime, it's a very tedious process to port over a package and keep it ported and work towards the goal of having it just work without having to maintain patches. And in other cases, if I find a solution to a problem where a patch would have been required, but the framework I'm using is able to work around the fact, like the math library, Python was able to build to the extent that it did, I don't know if the remaining failure is because I had the compiler ignore them. I don't think it was, though, because I had the same result when I changed the configure file, so that's not true. So yeah, so scratch that. It's just basically package source is, from what I've seen in some cases, is able to pass flags to the compiler to say, hey, if you get this error, just ignore it because it's okay. The same functionalities in this other thing over here. That's where I'm at. So that's my purpose. And now I'm going to go redo mutt, redo links, redo my really ugly OpenSSL hack, and then move on.